Hello, welcome to the recording of the May 20th cargo event. The title of this event is wrong. It says that I'm doing something with the Enshrouded wiki. The reason it says that is that I did a find replace from Enshrouded to Neutronized to write all of my bookmark hotkeys right before this, and so Enshrouded was in my head, but it's about the Neutronized wiki. So the thing that Neutronized wants to do is there are I love this link. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that this link is here. I think every single wiki that uses cargo should put a cargo tables link in the sidebar. It's so fantastic. So in the dialog table here, we have this level, okay? And the level is supposed to be sorted. And as you can see, the first number in the level like kind of makes sense, right? So we have like 1 dash, 2 dash, I don't know if there's a 3 dash. Maybe there's a 3. Okay, and then we have fishing spot 1. So like if you want to sort this, how exactly are you going to sort this? Like, does fishing spot 1 come before or after 1? Does it come in between 2-3 and 2-v, or does it come after that? These are like pretty random strings, and we don't really know how to sort them, okay? So when we're displaying these dialogue lines, right, there's these quotes here. So we have the name, and I think this is the name of the character, and then we have the game, and all of these right now are from Super Cattails Pause, so we won't have to worry about the game column right now. And then we have the state when the quote is said. We have some number here. I'm not sure what this number is. Maybe Storykeeper can tell me in chat. And then we have the quote. So what we really want to do, though, is we want to sort by this level. And this is a tough question, okay? Because the cargo doesn't know what any of this stuff means, right? This might as well be random strings that are going in a random order. Even though there's like some numbers here, we can't sort by this. We don't know if V comes before or after F, or if it comes before or after 3, or like we just have no idea. These are pretty much a random order. So what we're going to have to do is apply some sort of data somewhere in the entire cargo space. I'm like making this hand gesture when I say space because it's this like magical, mystical thing. Cargo somehow needs to know how to sort these levels. And our job is to figure out how to do that, store the data somewhere in the wiki, and then print it. Someone's asking in chat, can we use regex for this? Even if we could, we're gonna pretend we can't because we want this to be a total black box. But like realistically, I don't know if V comes before or after F, right? Like, is this Roman numeral? F isn't a Roman numeral, so it's not Roman numerals. I don't know if it's alphabetical. I don't know where any of these letters come from, and it might be that in one game F comes before V, and another game V comes before F. So these levels are pretty much random strings, and we have to somehow apply numbers to them. So the most obvious way maybe to sort all of this data would be to say that like, okay, I'm going to pretend that like this is the correct order of the quotes, which I don't think it is, but like say that we want this helper slot line to display first, and then but we can't deploy our robots just yet to come second, and then if that's not too hard to screw up, that comes third, okay? So we could add like another field here called index, and then we could write that, okay, this line is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we all know how to count. So we can number all of these, and every single time that we put a line of dialogue, we can number them. And then we can sort by the order column or the index column or the number in table column, right? We can call that whatever we want. I would personally call that index. If you're not super comfortable with the word index having a meaning, then you can use whatever you want to call it, like counter, number, etc., something like this. Integer, natural number, whatever you want. Cargo can sort by numbers, right? So if we wanted to sort by this line number, like we can do that. Cool. Again, I'm not sure what this line number is doing. Line is for the order in which the lines are said in the state of the level. Okay, so we'll probably want to sort first by level, then by state, and then by line or something. This will be part of our sort at the very end, but we'll get to that later. So we can sort by these numbers, like numbers make sense to cargo. So if we have an integer field here that again doesn't exist yet, like we could do that and we could sort by integer. So that's not the solution we're going to do at the end, but one of the topics that I've prepared for today, that's a lie, I didn't prepare anything, but one of the topics I was planning to talk about today was this Iter template that's on the support wiki. And this will go in the video description, so if you want to copy it, you can copy it. I think it's very likely I'm going to rename this template to counter because I think Iter is not a very clear name for it. I am sometimes kind of bad at naming things, except for Druid. Druid is the best name ever. So what this does is this counts, okay? So if you want to look at the source code here, and let me just paste this in the chat for the people who are watching today. So you can look at that if you want to. You can follow along here. Oh, and let me zoom in because I'm streaming. Last time I got the feedback that my screen was way too small, no one could see anything, especially in the recording. So today I'm streaming on my 1080p monitor instead of my 1440p monitor. So I'm a little sad about that, but that's okay. But let me also zoom in so that you can see this. Okay, so what does this do? The core of this is that you have this expression here, and everything is like commented. Like I have this like end if that is oh, it's ending in FEQ. I should have probably written. Let me just write. That's just it's a little clearer. Okay. So we have this FEQ, and then we have like some very defined echo, and VD is very defined echo. The core of it is this expression right here. Okay. So we're basically adding one or zero to this thing that we had before. Okay. So like the what the expression looks like at its core is like we're doing like var iter index whatever name here plus 1 or 0 if we say we just want to get the value. Okay, so this comment is like what's going on with this expression statement. So this template can count. Okay, that's all it does. It counts. So there's a few ways that it counts. By default, the simple thing that it's going to do is it's going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do I have this pipe here? Let's look at why I have the pipe here. Okay, let's delete this pipe and let's preview this. What happens when there's no pipe? So this pre doesn't match what I'm actually displaying here. Why did that work? that shouldn't have worked. this really shouldn't work. Why is this working? Okay, I actually don't know why this is working. I guess this is governed by some property on MediaWiki that we have set so that it doesn't cache it. I thought this is going to display 1 4 times because templates, if a template has no parameter, then the wiki typically caches the result that it had previously and won't re-render anything. So once it shows iter, it assumes that because there's no parameters here, there's no computation being done inside of the template, and so it doesn't need to recompute the stuff inside of the template, and so it won't show it again. I actually thought that was like forced MediaWiki behavior, but apparently that is not forced, and we have some parameter that's not doing it. So it is displaying 1, 2, 3, 4 the way it should, but know that that is not guaranteed behavior in MediaWiki, and if you want your template to do computation every single time it's called, you actually do have to put a pipe character here. So that's why there's a pipe with an empty first value here, which is not doing anything. So just don't rely on this setting actually working, because that could be changed in the future. It's more performant to allow MediaWiki to cache this, especially because there's an easy workaround to avoid the caching where you add just any parameter at all. Like we could write cat equals, like if we wanted to, and that would accomplish the same thing as having this empty first parameter here. So iter counts. So we can call the template 4 times, and then we can get 1, 2, 3, 4. We can reset it with reset equals yes. We can have multiple counters at the same time. So we're seeing the result of key 1, and then we're seeing the result of key 2. then we're incrementing key 2, and then we're incrementing key 1. And actually, we're incrementing key 1 the first time we call it here because the iterator starts at 0, and then the first time you call it, it increments from 0 to 1. And then I also have this get equals yes parameter. So as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, and then get 3. The first line here has the reset equals yes, because otherwise it would be reusing the value from the last time that it was called without a named parameter here. Okay, so what is this useful for? There's two main reasons that you would want to use this template. The first one is the reason that we're going to use it today, which is to add some index or number or counter field to a cargo table automatically without forcing the user to write it in manually. So I'm going to write like, let's go to my page and let's do iterator test, yay. I like giving whimsical names to all of my test pages. Okay, so I'm going to write fake code. This isn't going to do anything. I just want to kind of demonstrate like what could happen. So we're going to say like table equals kittens, because that's what I always put when I don't know what to put. And then we're going to say like name equals aria, and then we're going to say like count, like order. I'm going to use order, okay? Order equals 1, and then we're going to copy this like a bunch of times, and then we're going to say Bran, and then we're going to say Ned, and then we're going to say Caitlin, and then we're going to say Jamie, and then we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and if we had named our kittens after A Song of Ice and Fire characters, then we would have this order parameter along with the name parameter. And every time we did a cargo query, we could sort by the order parameter. This is fun. There's nothing wrong with this, but there's kind of something wrong with it. So, for example, like what if I decide that, oh, I'm ordering these kittens by how cute they are, and actually I just found another kitten, and its name is Rickon, and it's actually cuter than Ned. Okay, but like, okay, so I make this 3. Oh my god, I have to make this 4, and then I have to make this 5, and then I have to make this 6. Okay, so theoretically, we could do something like, we could be like, okay, so this one is supposed to be between Bran and Ned, and we really don't want to renumber everything, so we're just gonna put a 0.5 here, right? And then we're gonna make our order be a float instead of an integer. Yeah, okay, sure, you could do that, but we don't want to do that. There's a few reasons we don't want to do it. One reason is actually like a very technical reason, that when you're doing integer parameters like this that you might want to iterate over, we don't want to deal with floating point arithmetic, so we don't like using decimals for that reason, because decimals have floating points, and that's a whole other can of worms. We don't want to go there. So we don't like doing that because we don't like introducing floating points to our database stuff. It's also just a little confusing. Like if you look at this data and you see 2.5, you're like, whoa, why is it 2.5? What's going on here? So, this is a workaround if you wanted to start using decimal points because you want to hard code this order parameter into your code because you don't feel like understanding the counter or iter template. I mean, okay, fine, this is a clever workaround, but it's not great. So what if we did this instead? And then I'm gonna just put a name here. Variables are always global. So if you accidentally, like if you see in this documentation, right, I had to remember to write reset equals yes, because this is reusing the exact same counter every single time. So you can use iter without naming your particular iterator, but you should always name it. Okay, so we're gonna have good style here, and then we're just gonna put counter here. And again, I do apologize that this is not actually storing anything. Nothing is going to happen. I don't have this kittens table declared on the support wiki, but we could do this and this would work. And you also note that right now my cargo store is directly on this page, so I'm just gonna make a fake template here. I'm gonna say like template. So this would be like the template code that we'd write. So we want to do this cargo store here, okay? So we can do like include only and then include only. So we can write name equals name. Match the braces. Okay. And then if this were our template, then the only thing that the user needs to do is, and let me just put a no include tag here. The only thing the user needs to do is write like kittens template and then like aria stark, right? This is very user friendly, okay? And if you have like a bunch of these, right? So we're gonna put like Brandon, and then we're gonna put Ned. If you want to like reorder Brandon and Ned, it's as simple as cut pasting and moving it around with your arrow keys. If you want to insert another one, I probably spelled that wrong. If we want to add Daenerys Targaryen, we can do that, and we could delete it later because we realize this is just the Stark family and we're not supposed to have a Targaryen in the table. And the iterator template, the counter template, will just take care of that, and it will store exactly what we want. So very, very useful table here. Someone's asking in chat, does this still need a column reserved for an index string, or does it work using any data type? Okay, so your iterator column would have to be an integer. Well, I mean, it could also be a float if you're using the silly workaround that I said, like with 4.5, but you don't want to do that. So the cargo declare for this would look like cargo declare table equals kittens, and then we'd have name equals string and order equals integer. So that's how you're going to want to do it. Cargo will sort differently if you call it a string versus if you call it an integer, okay? So if you call it a string, then this means that sort looks like 1, 10, 11, 13. Let's put 105 here. And then it puts like 2, 25, 29, and then it's going to be like 37, and then it's going to be 4, okay? Because it's sorting these alphabetically. So that's what happens if you do a string. If you do an order equals integer, then you're going to get 1, 2, 4, 10, 11, 13, 25. I put way too many numbers here to recall them and not miss one. Okay, but I think I got it right. So you have to make this be a number of data types. Alex, these are great kitten names. So you have to make this be a numerical data type, or it's going to sort it lexicographically instead of numerically. That word is so hard to say. So we do not want to make this a string. Okay, this has to be an integer. Where did kittens template come from? I totally made it up. It doesn't exist. But like, suppose that instead of writing like let's go to kittens template, and let's say I'm template kittens template. I'm sorry, I'm like being a little bit hand wavy here. Oh my god, if I had done it in the template namespace, I could have used my char insert for include only. So yeah, so let's say that this is like at kittens template. I was just being lazy and putting it as a subpage of my user page, but this would theoretically be at kittens template. And then this like cargo declare, right? This would like go inside of the no include here. And we'd only have like one of these and stuff. That is. Oh yeah, that's inside my no include. I'll just like put a new line here. So this table doesn't actually exist. We didn't make it. We're not like actually showing this. I don't want to like vandalize the support wiki with my test data right now, so I'm not going to save this. But theoretically, you could save this. Let me just like put this in chat so that you can see it there if you want it. So it's in chat now. So okay, cool. So this is like the first major use case of the iter template. And again, that's to make it very easy to reorder data that you need to be ordered in cargo. So that just that simple cut and paste to reorder the lines just works. You can insert stuff. You don't have to worry about like doing hacks with decimals. You don't have to worry about like reindexing your entire thing. As long as the stuff is saved from the same page, you can keep using this iterator going vertically down the page, and all of your data will get automatically incremented by the parser, and your users don't have to do a bunch of extra work. And more importantly, your users don't have to understand the point of having an iterator, because every additional field is like something else that users have to understand. And typically, in my experience, users are not super upset about doing extra work, but if you make them have to understand stuff, that's not good. We don't want to make our users have to understand extra stuff. So we want things to quote unquote just work. That's like a technical term. Like just working is like when a user doesn't, like when something happens as expected. that's like just work, right? Okay, so the second major example of why you might want to use the iter template actually exists on the cargo page. I'm gonna have to find where this is. I should have opened it ahead of time, but I think it's in customizing tables. Okay, so this is the original reason that I wrote. Nice. I have some typo. Where did I type one concat? That is not here. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that. But we'll figure that out later. Okay, so here is where we're using iter. So this is my like amazingly wonderful, fantastic escape concat syntax. I think that's what I'm calling it, like escaped concats, where we write open brace, iter, close brace. So that's like, so let me just like show you this in wikitext. So let's go here and then let's preview this. So that is putting out the raw text of iter. Okay, that's what that's doing here. Is it's just displaying iter. And so if we call that as n, then we get our number here. So this cities table, table cities. So if we go to the cities table, there's no index field here, right? There's no like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not sorting this by anything. We just want to number the results here, okay? And whatever order they get displayed in, we want to number them. So this is what we're using the iter template for, is artificially adding an index field to a cargo query. So that's like the second big use of the iter template, is to add an indexing column to a cargo query. There's some other reasons that you might want to use it. For example, if you just want to like display numbers increasing of something on the wiki, you can use it for that. Like if you want to do a numbered list and then have the numbers increase later on or something, like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top of the page and you want 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 later on, and it might change to 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can use the iter template for that if like doing an OL, like an ordered list, won't work so well. And then the other reason to use iter is that if you're using an iterator, one side effect of counting is that every number is unique, okay? So each time you call the iter template, you get a different result, as long as you don't use like reset or give it a different parameter so that it's indexing in its own little sandbox, or if you don't use like the get parameter. As long as you keep calling iter the same way over and over again within the same namespace, where namespace is like here, the namespace would be key 1 and key 2. It's guaranteed to be unique. So if we just want like a bunch of unique things, we can count up starting from 0. And then that's useful if you want to have unique IDs for some reason. Most frequently, that some reason would be if you're wanting to use like MW collapsible elements and you need the unique ID for your custom collapsible to be like different for every single different MW collapsible element that you make on the page. I also use something similar in Druid info boxes, so that each Druid info box has its own unique ID within the page. And then you can target that like with selectors, with JavaScript, etc. It's pretty useful to be able to have this way of getting unique elements on the page. Give me 1 second, I need to drink some water. Could we get a visual for what that call would look like in script? Which call? The call to iter, or like an MW collapsible element, or 1 sec, let me wait for this question. I don't think I can like pop out the chat and show it on my monitor. So I'm sorry to people watching the stream. I don't have the chat showing. But yeah, so iter has like a lot of uses, primarily with cargo, and then I guess I would say secondarily with assigning unique IDs to be used in JavaScript. So we are okay. The call to iter, you're still confused on where and how often you need to call it. Okay, so the only reason you need to call it is if you need to count. Okay, so this documentation over here is like showing how to use it and what the result will be. So if we write iter 4 times, we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so anytime you want to count on a page, you can write iter, and then you'll get the result that you want. Right, so this is the open braces are to call a template, and then we have no parameter here, and then we're going to close off the template. We don't need any parameter. And then it's just going to transclude iter. And then it's like super magic. Everything happens behind the scenes. The call to index, like in a cargo table. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can show you. Wait, so this is the code here. If you wanted to see like this is literally what you would write here. I can let me link this in the chat. Special case adding line numbers. So this is like how the cargo would look. If you wanted to display that like n column here, you can. The display name is here. You have the n, and you can change that as you want. So I'll wait for this one last question, and then I'm going to move on to the next topic after that. Or I guess if anyone else has questions about Iter, ask them now, because after this I'm going to assume that everyone's pretty comfy with how you can call this template, why you might want to call it, and we're going to use it on Neutronized. I'm actually going to make sure that it's actually on Neutronized, because if it's not here... okay, so let me add it here. I'm going to call it counter, because I really just think counter is a better name, and I'm going to rename it. It's... do I have it in the source here? Okay, well, that's fine. And then let's create the documentation. Edit the documentation. And I'm just going to do a quick find replace off on another screen. I'm going to change iter to counter here. And then we're going to go back here, see the documentation. It looks good. And then I will purge cache to update it here. And then we have the documentation here. Yeah, so in the query, cargo, like, this is literally code that it's showing right now, right? So if I change this, like, this is the prelim, delete everything, I'm just gonna preview, so if I, like, change this limit to 5, then it'll show 5 rows, right? It's showing the data from cargo here. I think I have, like, a population field, so, or let's add motto. So I can add, like, motto. Let's add motto first. So if I show like motto here, then the motto is showing, and then we have the counter, and then we have page name, and then we have the name of the town here. So this is like what cargo is really good at doing, is like giving the simple query and then aggregating a bunch of data into a field over here. And the cargo query will execute this code iter, because again, remember that like what we're seeing here is this like escaped text. So this is what gets sent to cargo, is like the raw text concat open brace iter close brace, and then the cargo, when it's doing its query, cargo will run its own version of the parser that will see this. So we're sort of parsing in 2 stages, right? The first one is to send the data to cargo, and then when we do that, we have this escaped concat, or like this escaped template that goes inside of the concat, and then cargo will parse it a second time, and then it'll execute the value of iter, and it'll display it. Is concat necessary in this case, or is it just best practice? Yes. If you want to display a string in cargo, you need to put it inside of concat. So, like if we try and do this as just like a string, it's going to be like, no, I refuse. Boo. So concat is how you get, and the way that concat is like intended to be used is like, I could put like, so let's say I was gonna do this. So concat is for concatenate, and it's intended to concat a bunch of stuff together, and you can concat multiple fields together. Let's add area. And it's not going to put a space here, right? So it's concatenating this constant string, which is evaluated as the iter template, and then it's concatenating motto after that, and then area after that. And if we wanted to put like if we wanted to put a space here, we can add like a space between motto and area. So concat is pretty useful. And concat is like a shortcut way to put a raw text into into the value. Can we concatenate an empty string with iter to get just the end value? Well, like we don't have to even concat an empty string. Like you can concat one thing, and if you concat just the one thing, then you get just the one thing. So that's what we're doing here is like we're concatenating one thing and then we're displaying that raw value here. So you could consider this to be like a little bit of a hack, I guess, using concat in the first place here to get a constant value. So like we can even just write like I don't know, hello world. I'm being boring. So we can just write like hello world and then it'll just put hello world here. So putting this like wiki text string is like a very special case of putting a constant string instead of concat. And if we do like both of them in separate columns. Oh, well, okay, I'll just put it here with no display name. So it's like it's parsing the text hello world. Okay, this text hello world is going through the MediaWiki parser. And MediaWiki is parsing hello world. Hello world is just a constant string here, so what we get out is it just saying hello world a bunch of times. So we don't really notice that it's going through the MediaWiki parser to display hello world, but it totally is. And then for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, we're getting this literal text concat. We're getting this literal text iter being sent to the MediaWiki parser is going to evaluate that on every single subsequent row, and then it's going to increment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as it goes down the end column. And so I guess I'll show one more thing is that let's equals not iterating. So let's actually just like literally write iter here, okay? So what happens if we literally write iter here is that, so first of all, you can see the issues, right? You can see the issues when you don't namespace, excuse me, because it's giving 1 and then it's remembering that it was at 1 when it continues to iterate over here, okay? So if we really want to be namespacing here, okay? So there should probably be like I don't know, we'll just put something. Like we should be namespacing both of these. So we have this constant value. That's because it is evaluating iter before anything goes to concat. So what it evaluates here, when it parses, it's like, okay, so here I have like this whole thing, and then that's gonna be like iter I. So like this is, so n is gonna have this value when I send stuff to cargo. And then the wiki text parser is gonna be like, okay, now I have this thing, and that's 1, okay. So then not iterating, the value is just 1, and then 1 is going to be sent to the parser or like to cargo in order to be parsed later on. So this gets evaluated immediately. This thing also gets evaluated immediately, but when it gets evaluated immediately, what comes out is a valid template expansion, and then when it gets evaluated later a second time when cargo is generating the table, this will get expanded to display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whereas this one was already expanded just to have 1. And I just looked at chat and totally lost my train of thought. It's like really hard to read while you're talking at the same time. But yeah, so this was already expanded, and then it's the constant value 1, and then the parser can't do anything else with it again. Okay, yeah, so I can answer your questions. So we're using concat to hijack the parser. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're doing. And there's another question. Why doesn't the iter in the query have the pipe? Because I messed up. Honestly, it really should have the pipe, and I'm going to edit that because it really should have the pipe. You are totally right. So we're gonna go here. Oh, I think I must have messed up this template. I'm gonna need to edit this template later on. Okay, that's why that's messing up. So this should really have a pipe here. And it should also be namespace, you know. Let's just write like I'm just gonna write like cargo query here so that we have a nice example of namespacing, and then we're gonna save that. So yes, all right, fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next part of this, which is using Iter to save data. Well, we already talked about that. Okay, so the next part is gonna be that I'm gonna talk about the data structure that we want to save, and then we'll use Iter to actually save data. Okay. Okay, I'm lying again. All right, so the next thing to talk about is how to do a join. Okay, so let me see if I have data here that I can use to join. Do I have good data? Oh my god, I already have a table called kittens and it's like something totally different. Amazing. I am so incredibly predictable. Like I'm just predictable. Okay, so I'm gonna close all of these templates or all of these pages. I have a lot of okay. So we're gonna make a new page on the Neutronized Wiki. So I'm gonna call it stages. I think that's what I want to call it. Yeah, okay, but I'm gonna call it stages/cargo declare. I know that Random Story Keeper prefers to have a single template for both the store and the declare, and I will clean up your wiki after this, but for the live event, I want to do separate pages. So this is going to be just a declaration, and it's going to be nothing else. So we're going to write cargo declare. And you know what? I want to do something wild and fancy because I need to see two things at the same time. Okay, you know what is actually like really fancy? Ha ha ha! Look at that. Okay, so that's like using Windows Power Tool, by the way. I pressed my hotkey to keep this window always on top using Windows Power Tools. I highly recommend installing that just for this one piece of functionality. It is so fantastic. So I'm going to click dialog because I need to see what this is. Okay, so we want to, oh, you know what? I lied. We're making a table called levels. Cool. Okay, so we're going to write cargo declare table equals levels. And then we need to have three things, I think. So we need to have game, and this is going to be string, and then we need to have level. Okay, so this is going to map to the game here, and it's probably just going to be super cattails pause for every single thing, but I mean just for now. Like we'll need a game later on, and then we're going to need to have a level, and then we're going to have a and I'm going to call it order. So this is going to be an integer. I'm used to TypeScript and typing number for my number types. And then level is going to be a string. I'm actually like semi-worried. Oh. Oh man, I am so dumb. I am so dumb. Okay, we're gonna move this to a template, and then we're gonna not leave redirect. And then we're gonna write this here. Yeah, okay, order can't be used. So I thought that might be the case and I wasn't sure. And every time I said order before, that was a lie because that's an illegal field name. So we're gonna call it Story Keeper. What do you want to call it? Do you want to just call it number? We can just call it number if you want. Actually, I'd really like to call it index. Okay, we'll call it line. Cool. So we're calling this line. So I would call this index, but the most important thing is to keep doing whatever the current wiki convention is doing and not force different conventions on a wiki. So if the index is also doing okay, yeah. So index is often abbreviated IDX to get around index being a reserved keyword when it's a reserved keyword. Yeah, IDX works. I thought that lowercase names didn't conflict in cargo. Like, I thought you could use anything you wanted for if the field was lowercase, and it was just if it was capital that it could conflict. But honestly, I don't remember. So we'll just call it line. Line is cool. But yeah, since you can't use index, I would probably use IDX. Okay, so we're gonna create the data table, and we're gonna make the data table. Okay, and there's no data here right now, but we have game level and line. Okay, so we're going to next, and so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like be super. I'm gonna do something super illegal, and I'm gonna make test data in the main namespace. Like, you shouldn't do this, but I don't want to. I don't want to like accidentally mess up namespace validation because I'm doing stuff in the user space, and I don't want to like go way into making exceptions right now in this particular event. So we're just going to be a little bit illegal, and we're going to be like test level data. And we're going to call that here. So we're going to end up saving stuff here. And then in this window, I need to make a template. So I'm going to call it template level. And then I'm going to be like include only, no include, and then put a documentation. And then cargo attach table equals levels. Okay, so then we want a cargo store, and then we want end here, and then we want table equals levels. Okay, so this is like basic boilerplate that I just typed out really quickly for cargo store. We're going to write level. What did I call anything? Whoops, cargo tables. Okay. So levels and map levels are different things, and we're just not going to worry about that right now. You might want to try and make your naming a little bit better in the future. You can rename tables. I can help you with that later. If you are adminning your own wiki, which is a different wiki, you should probably look at the tables and try to be a little consistent. But whatever, cool. Levels and map levels are different. So we have game level and line, and then I want to say level equals level. And then I want to say game comes first, game equals game. And then what is line? Line is going to be equal to iter, and then we're going to namespace this, and I'm going to call it level cargo. You're allowed to put spaces inside of the namespace. So this is just going to increase, this is going to increment by 1 every time that we display it. And then because I want to be like slightly transparent about this, I'm going to write game level. And I want to put iter level cargo get equals yes. Okay, so this get is just going to display the one that we already incremented over here. And then this is like one row of a wiki table. So I'm going to write class equals wiki table. And then I'm going to be like line game level. And then I'm going to be like level 1. Wait, what do I want? I want a level equals 1.1. And then for all of the games, it's going to be the super cat pause game. So I don't really want to worry about super cat pause. What is it again? Okay, so I'm gonna, I don't really necessarily recommend doing this. Well, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say, or game, or super cattails pause. Okay, so if we don't specify a game, it's gonna default to super cattails pause. Or is global on WikiGG at this point. If you're watching this and from a different wiki farm, you may have to install parser power in order to get or as a parser function. I highly recommend using parser power. It's a fantastic extension. And if you use my fork of it, you can get array map and array map template without having to install all of page forms. And if you're installing page forms for like just those two parser functions, you should definitely switch to parser power. You'll also get or and follow, which are pretty great parser functions to have. So if game is null, then it's going to display, it's going to output super cattails pause. This is different, not the same as a game with a fallback of super cattails pause. These are different things, and the reason that they're different is that in this version, if you write game equals, then the or version is going to display super cattails pause. Oh my god, I'm like not zoomed in. I'm so sorry. This is probably really hard to read. So if you write like game equals with no data here, then this one is going to give you what you want. It's going to give super cattails pause, and this one, this commented out version, which is not the same as, then it's going to say, oh, game is defined. It's an empty string, and then it's going to just send an empty string, and you're not going to get what you want. So these two are very different. 99.99% of the time, the one that you want is the or version. This is like almost always that's the one that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. and I'm gonna not put any game data here, and then I'm gonna put like I think there was one that was like 1 point village. Oh, V is village. Cool. Okay. And then F is that farm. And then we're gonna have like 1.2 here, and then we're gonna have like 2.0 fortress. F is fortress. Okay. We're gonna put a fortress, and this is village. Okay. And then we're gonna have 2.0, and then we're gonna have like level playground. I don't know. These are right. These are just random things that that we don't know. Okay, so we're gonna save this. I called it Iter. Oh my god. Oh my god. You guys are supposed to correct me. I need to purge cache. Okay, so real quick, did I? Oh yeah, cause the game is okay. So let me just put. Hold on. I'm gonna put a var define echo game, and then I'm gonna write. Whoops. And VDE, and then I'm gonna write bear game here. Okay, so real quick, when I blank edit the page, okay, you can't see it because I'm pressing Alt Shift S, but like when I save changes, then the cargo gets updated. In order to update the display, you need to purge cache. Okay, so those are different. Purge cache is to purge the HTML cache of the page and update it. And what is going on? I'm missing something. Hold on. What is? Oh, this is supposed to be the. Okay, I'm making this one. Wait. Oh, I see. I put. Okay. Just kidding. I'm sorry. So level equals playground here. Okay. So we have the level here, and it's like 1.1, 1.v, 1.f, etc. So I'm gonna go. Oh my god. Okay, I need this sidebar. Wait, how do I see this? Why is it not showing me this? Oh, because that's always on top. Okay, what's going on? What? Okay. I can't click apparently. Also I need to, well, I'm just gonna unsticky this. Okay. So we want to go to tools, and then we want to go to page values. So that's what I'm trying to do is go to page values here, because page values shows the cargo data. So right, because over here we were just like displaying something that we like drew this independently edited wiki text over here, and this could be wrong. So the real thing that you want to check is you want to check the page values. And in a future patch, page values over here is going to be renamed to say cargo data. So you can expect page values to say cargo data in the future, but right now it says page values. We might make a global override for that text on WikiGG so it says page values sooner than cargo updates, because it should really say cargo data here. Page values is a little weird. The reason it says page values is that for SemanticMediaWiki, it's called page properties, and so I think cargo, the intention was to be similar to SemanticMediaWiki because people are used to SemanticMediaWiki, and the reason that SemanticMediaWiki says page properties instead of SMW data, I have no idea. SemanticMediaWiki should have started out by saying SMW data. I guess it's because like page information is like another, so you have like page information, and so it wanted to be like page information, page properties. Oh, but that's like really, I don't know. Anyway, so we can check the cargo data over here. So we have this integer line that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is exactly what we wanted. Now, suppose that a patch comes out to this game, and then playground is suddenly, like, playground comes before, like, okay, there's no logic to this ordering, right? So playground is between 1.1 and 1.v. So we're going to save this again. And then it looks like it's doing what we want here, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got to put playground here, and all we had to do was rearrange those lines. We didn't have to edit any numbers or anything. And then if we look at the page values again, we can see that playground has line 2. And everything is working. The question in chat is what's SMW data? So SMW is SemanticMediaWiki, and that was like kind of a tangent that is not super important. But SMW is like an alternative to Cargo. SMW has existed for many more years than Cargo has, and a lot of wikis used SMW for a very long time, and their editors were very familiar with SMW. Cargo comes around, and it's an alternative to SMW, but when Euron was writing Cargo, he really wanted SMW really wanted SMW users to be comfortable with the new extension. And so a lot of things that are done in Cargo are, the reason that it's like that is because SMW was historically like that. And so it's intended to be somewhat similar to SMW and make sure that Cargo is familiar to SMW users. So in SMW, the way to see SMW data in the toolbox section over here was a link called page properties, because in SMW you store properties about things, and so you clicked the page properties and then you could browse all of the SMW data. And so in Cargo it's called page values to have that like feature parity with SMW, and I don't think either one is a very good name. So in the future that's going to say Cargo data instead of page values. So that was just like way too much explanation for telling you that in the future expect this to say Cargo data. Okay, so we have what we want with template Iter, making these very easy to reorder, and that's great. Okay, so and you know, this data is like in production right now. Like it's probably not going to stay on this test level data page. You know, it might go to a page that's like super cattails pause levels, or it might go even in the data namespace. We might make a page called data : level. I don't know if this is does this have a data namespace? It doesn't. Okay, so maybe we make a data namespace here, and then we put all of this data into the data namespace. That's probably what I'd recommend. But for now, it's here. The data is in production. If we look at our cargo tables, then we have this levels table. The data is here. We can create it right now. So let us go ahead and create. Do I recommend the data namespace for any wiki that uses Cargo? I would say that you making good use of a data namespace is a little bit of an aspirational thing. Most wikis will have some sort of data that does not particularly belong to a single page on the wiki. Whether that's item recipe data, whether that's the sort key orders for levels in the video game, whether that's like other meta information, it's likely that with a fully normalized table structure, there will be some kind of data that you don't want to put on a specific wiki page. And any data that doesn't belong on a specific wiki page should go into a namespace called data. And then that namespace should not get indexed by Google. That way users don't end up there accidentally. It won't go in special all pages under the main namespace, because I think special all pages is like this is a pretty useful thing to use, and you don't want like random data pages to be displaying here in the main namespace. No one's gonna click this button and go somewhere else. So if you can hide data like that from users a little bit, I think it's great. Whether a wiki is actually going to make good use of a data namespace, on the other hand, is very debatable. So I would say that if you're using Cargo, it's a good idea to request the data namespace. And that way, if you decide you want to use it, you can use it immediately. There's also a very big issue that MediaWiki has, where if I create, okay, so let me just, so if I create, so I'm gonna make a page here, and I'm gonna say like, haha, my page, yay. So if I save this, I think, oh, okay, so, and then I just want to like demonstrate to you guys where this page is located. Like this is in the main namespace right now, right? So even though it starts with data : it's in the main namespace. So if I now go into local setting, like, okay, if I now request the data namespace from the platform team, and then they create the data namespace using local settings, then this page is going to totally break. It's gonna like completely explode. MediaWiki is going to flip out at you. You can't do that, okay? If you're making a namespace, there cannot be any pages that look like they belong in that namespace yet. So the way to tell is that it's called prefix index. So if we look at the prefix index for data : this is all pages in the main namespace that start with data : This needs to be empty if you're going to make a new namespace called data, okay? This has to be completely empty. You cannot have any pages here, or everything is just going to completely break and you're going to be really sad. So I'm going to delete this so that I don't accidentally cause this wiki to break in the future. So it's a good idea to proactively create a data namespace so you don't accidentally make a page that looks like it's in the data namespace, but it's actually in the main namespace. You really want this prefix index to be empty before creating the namespace. So I think most wikis that have cargo should request a data namespace, whether you use it or not later on. I am so sorry that you are already doing this. So yeah, you're gonna want to move all of these pages to like some other thing. Like I would move them to like data temp colon, so like temporary data temp colon, and then uh, wait for the namespace to be made, and then after that you can move them all from data temp back to data. But yeah, I'm sorry that you already made pages in the data or like in the main namespace starting with data. That's not fantastic. You definitely are going to want to move all of those before requesting a data namespace. So yeah, okay. Are there any other questions? Do I want you to make a cargo table just for levels to determine their order? Yes, except no, because I just did it for you. But yes, that is exactly what we're doing. We're making a cargo table just for levels to determine their order. That's like precisely what's happening. So like the data is here. This is going to be ordering everything. And then when we query, which I'm going to do like as soon as I run out of question, as soon as I've answered every question in chat, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate how to do a query with this. And that's going to be the section of the event that was like doing your first ever join statement. Is that join statement is going to be joining the level data to, or the levels data, sorry, the table name is levels. So we're going to join levels to dialog in the next part of the event. So does anyone have any questions about, like, does what we've done so far make sense? Does the structure of the cargo table make sense? Does Iter make sense? Is everything super fantastic? Can I show the table structure again? It is right here. It is on the screen. Okay. I hopefully will be done in about 20 minutes. Then the last part, writing the query, is probably the easiest thing. So I'm gonna I'll leave this table structure over here so that you can see it. And you can see like the types for each field over here and how it's declared over here. Will there be an opportunity to ask a case-specific question later? Yeah, after I'm done with this, I want to finish with the neutronized thing first, and then after this, like, I can probably stick around until, like, right now it's 4 p.m. I can probably stick around until like 5 p.m. and keep answering any questions. So we're just gonna like take up all of Alex's storage because he's recording it right now, and so the event can go until his hard drive explodes. So okay, so I'm gonna make a new page in the main namespace, and I'm gonna call it like dialog query. Because again, remember we just made this template or this table called levels. It's really unfair that template and table sound so similar to each other. So we just made this template. Oh my god, we just made this table called levels, but really what we want to do is that we want to query dialog. So the levels template is table. Oh my god, the levels table is sort of supporting the dialog table. So we're going to make a query here. So we're going to do cargo query. And first I'm going to just query dialog, and then I'm going to go back and add the join. So I'm going to say tables equals dialog. You can put an S here or not put an S here. Either one is fine. So tables equals dialog. And then we don't have a join on yet. So I'm going to say fields equals name quote level. And I think that's all I need to say. Okay. Yeah, that's not great. I think I'm. Hold on. So I think I am gonna concat. I'll explain what I'm doing in a sec. That is not correct. What did I do wrong? Oh, I left out a base here. Okay. Okay. So we fixed the HTML entity by just like making MediaWiki parse the HTML entity into the correct display by putting inside the title parts. This is like a gigantic hack. Like, you know, I don't even want to explain why this is working. It's so bad. But if you have like an HTML entity that is not working, um, just put that title parts there, and that'll pretty much fix everything. And you'll be super sad because this is totally bullshit, but you'll also be happy because it works, right? So that got rid of this this entity here and turned it into actual apostrophes. Normally, the issue comes up in actual page names, but this is an issue in our text field here. So that is absolutely fantastic, and we're just thrilled. We're thrilled to be doing this right now. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And so this is our table. Okay, so we want to order by level, right? So I'm gonna put like order by so I think we want to order by game and then level and then line, I believe. Oh no, I think we want like state and then line. So I think this is the order of things that we want to. So first it's going to show all of the super cattails pause things. This is artificial. It's not doing anything right now because we only have one game, but theoretically we could have more than one game. And then we want to show the level within the game, and then we want to show the state within the level, right? Because the state could be like defeat boss, or it could be approach Mara at bell tower, and we want to group all of these together when they're from the same state, and then we want to show them in this line order here. I'm like 80% sure. So if Storykeeper, can you confirm that I'm not like full of shit right now and that's actually what we want to do? So let's do this order by and so then you can see like we have 1-1, 1-2. Order is level is a string. So again, this is like lexicographically sorted. I don't even know if I said that right. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have FV because numbers come before letters in the alphabet. I bet you didn't know like the ABC song goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You didn't know that. That's the extended version of the ABC song. is that all the numbers come first, and then fishing spot one comes at the end. This is likely not what we want. Okay, so what we really want is we want to take this level. Okay, and I know that right now my temporary data only has like 6 levels stored into it, but theoretically we're going to have one line in this field for each level. So we're gonna make believe right now. And so we want to take this data and then we want to attach it here, right? So we really want like an imaginary column in this table over here that is equal to the line number of the level, okay? This is going to be a little confusing. And you know what? This is going to be so confusing that I actually want to change the name of this field. So let me edit this declare real quick. I want to call this level line. And then I'm going to recreate data. I'm not going to bother with a replacement table. And then I want to go to the level table, and then I want to I wanted to call this like level line. This is going to be slightly less confusing to you. Oh, this is over here, I think. Okay, so let me just check that this is working. So remember, we click page values to check that it's working. And yeah, it's working. So I just renamed this to level line right now, and that's just going to make everything clearer in a bit. Okay, so we're going to view the table, and then over here again. Okay, we've got level line. So what we really want is we want to attach the level line to this table here. Okay, so we want to have like level, state, line, quote, and then remember this line is the line within the state, and then we want to have the level line sort of like attached here. So we want to say like, okay, this level is 1F. So we look up 1F here. We find that the level line is 4, and then there's like an imaginary 4 over here. Okay, so what we're about to do is we're going to add an imaginary 4 over here. Okay, so I'm just gonna like draw on my screen real quick, because I really want to emphasize this. So what we're doing is we're gonna put like over here, we're gonna have level line, and then we're gonna have like 4. This is also 4. This is also 4, because remember that this is coming from here. Okay, so we have like 4, 4, 4, and then we're, I don't know what 2v is, but like, let's say that this is 7. So then we're gonna have like 7 here, and then it's all going to be based on this level thing, right? So 4 comes from 1-f, 4 comes from 1-f, 7 comes from 2-v. And then all of these are coming from the columns over here. Drawing with your cursor is very difficult. And I'm gonna like take this as a screenshot, and then I'll paste this into the chat so that you can see it. So here you go. So we're about to make an imaginary column here. Okay, so the magic keyword to make this imaginary column is join on. We're going to grab the data from the levels table. Okay, so we have dialog, and then this is the dialog table, and then the other one that we have is the levels data over here. So those are the 2 tables. And then what was the target? I want to like reopen this screenshot. So the target over here, like showing you guys a screenshot in my browser, what I had on my browser tab and another tab. But anyway, so the data from the levels table, the association is that 4 comes via the level field over here. And how did we associate that? We associate that based on the level name over here, okay? So there's 2 fields called level. One of them is in the levels table, and that one is called level, and then the other one is in the dialog table, and that's called level also. So what we want to do is we want to make dialog dot level, and that's how you write out a field belonging to a table, is you use this dot syntax, okay? So we're going to say that if you only have one table, then you don't need to put the dot syntax, but you can if you want. If you have more than one table, you should always use the dot syntax. It's not if the field name is totally unique among all of the tables that you're querying all at once, you can leave off the dot. But we're gonna always put the dot because it's not illegal to always put the dot, and it'll cut down on errors if we always put the dot. So we want this dialog.levels to equal levels.level. And then these came from dialog. So we're going to put dialog dot, and then this is going to be dialog.level. I'm going to show you in a sec the error that you would get if you didn't do this, just so that you know what to expect. And I'm going to, oh my god, I did the SQL thing where I put the, I hate the SQL thing. Okay, and then we're going to do dialog.game, dialog.level. So this looks pretty accurate. Except we don't actually want to order by dialog. Well, first let's do this and make sure it's working. So it looks like everything is working here except for, let me put an equals quote here so that it's just nicer here. Okay, so it says quote, we alias the field, and it says quote over here. Okay, so we've done this join on. But now the question is, can we retrieve this magical column over here? Because remember, this is the magical column that we want to retrieve. So I am going to add one more field, and I'm going to call it levels.level line. And this is why I wanted to rename it, because we have dialog.line, and I didn't want to have both dialog.line and levels.line and have them mean 2 different things. Like, I didn't want that, so I renamed it to level line. Okay, and then there's nothing here because I'm probably not storing anything relevant. So let me, oh, I'm storing dots here. Okay, so I'm gonna put dashes here. Cool. Cool. So we have level line is 1, and that is what's coming from here. So right, so we have the 1.1, and then this is like magically showing up here, right? And then we have the 5 from 1.2. So just to like show you that we can modify this easily, I'm gonna put like level, and then I'm gonna call it 1-3, and I'm gonna put 1-3 in between 1-1 and 1-2, okay? So right now, there's no value for level line here, and I'm going to try and make it so that once we set up the sorting, because right now we're not actually setting up sorting, we're just like displaying stuff here. I'm gonna put 1.3 in between, or 1-3 in between 1-1 and 1-2. So we're gonna save this, and then once I preview this again, we're gonna expect this to show up, and I think that should be so we're gonna expect this to be a 3, and then we're gonna expect that to be a 6. So let's see if that happens. And then that's what happened. Okay, so we can modify the data over here, and then we like automatically have the level line populating over here. Okay. And then right now we're sorting by level, but what we really want to sort by is this level line that we added. Okay. And remember, this is part of the levels table, so we have to change this to levels, and then we change this to level line. We preview this, and then there's a bunch of null values here. So null comes before 1, so you will have to like add something to every single level line. But for the data that we have, like 1-1, so we have like we have 1, 3, 4, like 2 doesn't exist because I made up playground. That's not a real thing. But as you can see, 1-3 is in between 1-1 and 1-v, and then we should have like 1-f over here and then 1-2 at the end, and that's what we put over here. We're probably missing stuff because we want to say like limit equals 1,000 or something, and then that should show more things. Or I don't know. There's no 2-0. Okay, there's no 2-0. So let's just quickly make this say 2-v so that something else is showing for the last one. Okay, and let's change playground to fishing spot so that I get this right. Fishing spot 1. Okay. So again, this table isn't complete, so there's some stuff where it's null. In SQL, empty like this means null. Okay, so that's null. And we have stuff sorting like this. The fishing spot, yeah, so that we have like 1-1 and then we have fishing spot. So it's lining up over here. And then if we want to like reorder this, so let's make fishing spot be at the end. Okay. And then let's preview again, and then fishing spot should say 7, and we have fishing spot over here. So this is a pretty complete implementation of what you need. The only thing that's missing is that we need to move this to a better location, fill out the rest of the data. I'll go ahead and save this page so that the query is here. And then we have this like magical join on over here where you can associate two fields in 2 different tables. So 1 field from each table, you can say that they're equal to each other. And everything's working. So there's one last thing that I want to show. Okay, so I'm gonna write some data for 1-5. Okay, so I'm gonna say level equals 1-5, and then I'm gonna say game equals not pause. Okay, so if we refresh over here, then we have this not pause game. Okay, and then if I preview this again, we have 1-5 is actually showing 8, and that's not exactly what we want. Okay, so we're gonna have to also make sure that dialog.game equals levels.game. Okay, and then if we do this, then 1-5 becomes undefined again. Okay, so again, right now this doesn't matter so much because super cattails pause is the only thing that we have data from, but we did want to like add that condition here where the games have to be the same. So I'm just gonna go ahead and save this also. Okay, and Storykeeper says that there will indeed be more games added to this. So that's great. And I also want to just mention real quick that typically you have one equal sign between 2 tables. Like if you're joining 2 tables, usually there will be just 1 equal sign here. Like, or if you're joining n tables, there will be n-1 equal signs here. So we're sort of like over determining this in a sense because we have 2 equal signs. And if you're on like a very old version of Cargo, I think it was added like 3 or 4 years ago or something. But if you're on a very old version of Cargo, Cargo did not support having multiple equal signs for like per association of table. So we wouldn't have been able to do this in an older version of Cargo. And if this breaks, it might be because your wiki has an older version of Cargo. Again, that won't be an issue if you're watching this from WikiGG, but this is just going to go up on YouTube as a recording. So if you're from a different wiki farm or an independent wiki or something, check your version of Cargo if this doesn't work, because that has not been supported in Cargo forever. And you had to do like really annoying things. Like we'd have to make a single field that's called like game and level, and then just like concatenate these two things together and then make sure that game and level is equal. There's like a lot of stuff like that on Wikipedia because the last time I edited that wiki, Cargo did not support that, or the version of Cargo that fandom had didn't support that, and it was terrible. It was not fun. So it's pretty fantastic that we can do these multiple join statements like this to get exactly what we want. So this is a working implementation that's pretty much complete. Does anyone have any questions? Does anything not make sense? Do you think you can write your own join statements in the future if you wanted to join other tables together? Does the join like make sense? Does it like, do you understand like how we're doing this like magical association of adding pulling the level line column out of levels based on this level line? And again, I drew one pink arrow here. I said it was based on level, but now that we have both of these conditions here, it's really based on the level and the game. So we're really requiring that both of these be the same. So, and all of this, so this is the Neutronized Wiki. I'm going to paste this in chat. I'll try and make sure that everything is linked in the description of the live stream. But if you're watching this on the stream and you don't see a link to something, then you can feel free to ping me in the WikiGG server and I will answer. So a question from chat, does join on work for columns with different names, or would we need to populate a new column with the data from the column that we want to join into our working table? The names can be different. You can join wherever you want. So I don't really want to rename this right now because then I just have to like rename it back so that, because like by convention you want them to be the same often, but like often you'll have something like join on equals items dot name equals ingredients dot product. Okay, this is like this is a really common join on condition that you would want to do because you have like in the ingredients table you're going to have, and here let's look at the sorcerer wiki. What? Oh, I wrote SORCT, but it's SORCACT for sort cargo tables. So if you look at the recipes table, like we have an ingredient, okay, and then we have a product. So we can join either of these columns to the items table, right? Depending on what we want to demonstrate. Either one of these might want to be associated to items.name. So it's fine for recipes.ingredient to be associated to items.name, and it's fine for recipes.product to be associated to items.name. And in fact, you can do that in the same query. You can put multiple copies of a table into one query. They just have to have different aliases. So let me actually just demonstrate an alias real quickly. I'm gonna say like this equals D and this equals L. And I wanted to show you a couple errors also really quick so that you like know what to expect. So we're gonna just find every place that says dialogue, and then we're gonna put a D here, and this makes your query a little bit more terse, which may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. If it's like a very verbose query, you might want to use some aliases here so that it's a little bit easier to read without really long table names interfering. This is going to work too. I do want to show you one error real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this here, and I'm just going to request, I'm just going to request game, okay? So I'm going to preview this. It says column game in order clause is ambiguous, okay? The word ambiguous in cargo, if you see this error message, like these error messages are kind of scary, but often it has some pretty useful information in it if you know what to look for. If you see this word ambiguous here, what that means is that we have multiple tables and we didn't specify which table to pull game from. In this case, game means the same thing in both of these tables, but it's possible that game actually doesn't mean the same thing in both of these tables, right? It's possible that like when we join, well, okay, so we have this condition here, right? But if we're joining on like just level, and let me actually do this so that I can show you like, so let me put like a g.game here. So we, I'm not actually like displaying the game. Let's also display the game. Actually, okay. So I'm going to display, I want to add like d.game here. Okay. So we're showing here, we're showing super cattails pause for all of them, right? But then if I go into the level If I show l.game, then it's going to be different for, I think it's the last one. Yeah, right. Okay, because over here, the l.game is showing not pause, right? So we have like the 1-5 is showing not pause, and if I change this back to d-game, and then I scroll down a bit, the 1-5 is showing, and you know what, let me just show them at the same time. That's probably going to be better. So l.game. So if we look at both of these, I need to give it, okay, equals l.game equals d.game. So at the end, so these are not the same, right? They don't agree. So if we get rid of this prefix and we just try to show game, it is ambiguous, right? We don't actually know which game column it's associated to. So SQL is not going to like randomly trust you. Like I promise they're the same. Like when we have this equal sign here, I promise d.game is equal to l.game because that's part of our join condition. But SQL isn't quite smart enough to know that. So if we do this like that, that's ambiguous. So you see ambiguous, you look at your table and you're like, okay, where did I forget to put the table name? And then you put d.game over here. Okay. So the second error that I want to show you is that what if we wrote out dialog over here, right? Because it knows that this table is called dialog, and then it has like the equals d over here. We're gonna get this error, okay? Invalid table alias dialog, because when you named this table D, it forgot what dialog. It forgot the string dialog. It doesn't know dialog anymore. Like once you put this equal sign equals D, the only thing it knows the table at is D. So we have to use that. Okay, so those are two errors. When you're working with joins like this, those are probably the two most common errors that you're going to get. Is ambiguous means that you forgot to prefix the field with a name, and the name is conflicting in the two tables. And unknown table alias means that you are putting an invalid string here. Like I could put like G kittens, and again it's going to say I don't know what this means, and then you're like, I have this typo here. I just typoed. I wrote kittens when I didn't mean to write anything. So let me read this question. A follow-up question about join. When using join on, I assume it prioritizes the column from the table we are joining on. So when we join game1.items and game2.item, the column name would remain. Okay. So what is the column name? The column name is whatever you wrote here. Okay, so if they're not the same, then whatever field you write here is what it's going to display at the top. But you can always change that. Like I can say like equals some cool, awesome name. And then it's going to show some cool, awesome name here, right? So you can always re-alias fields, but it's going to show whatever you write here. So you can pick which one to write when you query it. And again, like we have both of them here, right? Like it's just kind of coincidence that game and game are the same thing. So it has like both versions and it's displaying the one from both tables. So if you have items and item, I don't recommend having a field that is called items joining to a field that's called item. That seems like an inconsistent naming convention, and I would recommend trying to avoid doing that. But if you do have something like that, then the name that's displayed at the top of the table will be whatever you put in the list. Oh, just going for a random example. Yeah. So the name it shows is whatever you put in the field list here. So Storykeeper said she has to go. So I first want to prioritize any questions Storykeeper has. So do you have any questions? And then if not, then I will take more questions from anyone in the chat. And I think someone said that they had a question earlier that they didn't ask because they didn't want to further derail when we were talking about index before. So I can answer that question too. I'm not sure if that user is still here. Yeah, I'm sorry this is a little fast. I know I talk really fast. So like on YouTube, I always speed stuff up to 2 times speed, and I feel like you likely cannot speed me up to 2 times speed because it would be hard to understand everything I'm saying. So I do apologize for that. But I can absolutely go over like any questions that you have. I can go over in the future again, and this recording will eventually be up on YouTube. I would say like give it a week or two. Ideally we will chapterize it, but we might like outsource chapterizing to any viewers. So if you're watching this video, and maybe I should have said that at the start, it might be a little bit late to chapterize, but we'll put something in the video description, I think, that we would love to chapterize this if someone gives us timestamps. Because this is, yeah, I was talking to Alex before this, and he was like, "Oh, how long do you think the event is going to be?" And I was like, "Oh, probably about 30 minutes." And it has now been 90 minutes. So, that's maybe a little bit unsurprising. I talk a lot, so it's not too surprising that we went a little bit over, just a little bit over, factor of 200% over. I think, right? I think we started at 3 p.m. my time, and it's now 4:30. Where can I post feedback about the events if you think of something later on? You can ping me anywhere. If it's a cargo question, I would say post cargo questions in the cargo channel. If it's about the event, like if you think that my font size is still too small, then ping me in the events channel in the WikiGG Discord server. Hopefully my font size isn't too small. If you think that Windows Power Tools is super cool and you want to learn more about Windows Power Tools, then you could ask me in the events channel. Cargo help, yeah. Cargo help is the cargo channel. Cargo help on the WikiGG server. It's called cargo help instead of just cargo because it's like too easy to accidentally invoke the name of the channel when you're trying to write like hash cargo underscore store. And it's the same thing with GPL because the extension name is also like included in the name of the parser function. Discord will like format anytime you try to talk about cargo store, it'll format it as a link to the channel, and that's like incredibly annoying. So instead of just being called cargo, it's called cargo help. But it's really like any discussion about cargo. So yeah, you can go ahead and ask questions there. I wish Discord had like a way to, I can screenshot this. So there's like, we can look at this screenshot. So there's this lovely set of channels here. I'll zoom in. So there's the cargo help underneath extensions, and you can ask there in the WikiGG channels sidebar. Was I talking about Power Toys or Power Tools earlier? I thought it was called Power Tools, but it might be called Power Toys. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's called Power Toys. Definitely Power Toys. Yeah, so literally the only thing I use this for is the always on top. Like for pretty much everything else, I use like AutoHotkey or something, but always on top is like fantastic. I love always on top so much. My hotkey for it is the Windows key plus spacebar. So it's very easy to press. And then I can like, I mostly use it for like putting my calculator always on top, but like just now having like being able to hide the sidebar behind the other window, it's so useful. Yeah, it is very useful. Always on top is like the best thing. Power Choice has like a lot of pretty useful things, but that one is like, that one's just the best. And I talked about this in another event that I did, but if you're wondering like how do I do, like this is black magic, how am I drawing these green lines? This is mouse gestures. So that's this. Mouse gestures is like pretty magic. I super like it. So I have all of these gestures that do these things. So prevent next tab and then like refresh. close all of the tabs to left and right, which accidentally closes my tabs. I don't even want to tell you how many times a day. It's like once every couple months. Because if you're drawing a circle and you're like, oh, I didn't actually mean that, then I just like draw a bunch of circles to cancel it out. And if my circles to cancel it out like accidentally looks too much like my closed tabs, then I end up closing a bunch of tabs to the left or right accidentally. Hey, Jared. So any other questions? Go ahead, ask your question. I really wish. Okay, bye, Storykeeper. Thanks for coming and ask me any questions that you have in the future. And thanks also for having this like interesting question on your wiki to inspire this event. That is super cool. Yeah, I think I'm done with everything, and you can go ahead and ask any other questions at this point. Basically, on the abiotic factor wiki, we have some rudimentary cargo tables set up. However, I've recently rocked the boat by mentioning that we should probably include a location data for our item table. However, a maintainer informed me that this would be impossible to do scripts. Fantastic. So I would say that probably you should look into the scripts and try and update the script so that it is possible. Because ideally you don't do workarounds based on something like that. If there are scripts that are like completely repopulating the entire page and say you can't like add manual data to it, then I would highly encourage the scriptwriter to base their update script on something like this, where we're using this template modifier class to modify stuff in place without overwriting user provided data. So if the location would be added by a user, you can still like update all of the rest of the data in your info box, and you can use this like template modifier class to do it instead of totally overriding everything. But let's say we're working in a world where that is not a possible. Again, I cannot stress the extent to which I suggest that in some way you update the update scripts to accommodate this and have correct table structure. Like having correct table structure is probably the single most important thing to do on any cargo wiki, and I would like try and do that at almost any cost. So please try and make updating the scripts happen so that you can put location data into the items table. Like please, please, please try and make that happen. But okay, so we're saying that that is not an option. So how would the best way to do that be? You're planning to create a new table that somehow links locations to items, so you can auto-generate a list or box. What is a box? A list or box of where to source different items. Okay, so yeah, I mean, on the surface, it's not that difficult. So you would want to make a data namespace for sure. And I'll just use the edit interface here. So you want to make a table called like template item location / cargo declare. I'm not actually going to save this, but we'll just have this for Fixie's template here. So you want to be like cargo declare table equals item locations. And remember, we have like we already have items. Okay, and then you're going to want to be like item name equals string, and then you're going to be location equals string. Okay. So this will be the declaration, and then we're gonna have store on a different template. It's gonna look like this: cargo store table equals item locations, and then we're gonna have like item name equals item, and then location equals location. And if there's like a hierarchy of the order in which items appear in a particular location, then you could be like IDX or like I don't know, item order equals we can put like counter here. Right, so we can put some index here, but I mean only if it's relevant. Put them like only if you need it. Okay. So we have the item locations table, and then we have oh yeah, this is so we have to declare, and then we have the store, and then items is gonna have tables items, and then we're gonna have like item, or let's say name equals string, and then we have like a bunch of other fields here. Yay. Okay, so when we're querying it, we're gonna want to do, and so then this cargo store template, query on a base page or in a template that's called main space. And depending on your wiki setup, this table could either be called from the data namespace or lower down below the info box on item pages. Okay, I'm suspecting that you're not going to be able to put this on the same page as the item data. Excuse me, because if you could, then there probably wouldn't be an issue with the update script. But we know that there's an issue with the update script, so it's likely that this is going to have to go on a different page from all the rest of the item data. That's fine, that's okay. So we can make a like data namespace, we can call it like data/item locations. It's nice to keep names pretty simple and straightforward, so if it's stored into the item locations table, I'd put it on item locations. If there's like 1,000 items, then you might want to do like item locations and then data item locations slash N to Z or something. You probably want to do more than 2 partitions if it's like 1,000 things, like probably about 250 per page is the maximum for data namespace. Data namespace pages, one of the nice things about the data namespace is that you kind of don't care that much about how performant the pages are because they get no page views and you hopefully rarely have to update them. So you can make do with, like, I would not put 250 cargo stores on a user facing page. That is too much. Don't do that. But in the data namespace, it's probably pretty fine. You can. It kind of depends on how many columns. The fewer columns there are, the faster it's going to store because there's like less work for the database to do. If it's just 2 columns, like about 250 is probably fine. Ideally, it's no more than 50 to 100, but you know, somewhere in that range. You'll get an intuition for like how fast or like how many rows feels like too many rows. You don't want to be getting 503 timeouts all the time. It's very annoying for editors, and also it's not great for the servers. So try and avoid that. But you can put a lot more cargo stores in a data namespace than you can in the main namespace. Anyway, so we have this stored from the data namespace. We have all of our data in the 2 tables. We have the items table and we have the item locations table. And we're going to write our query. So we're going to be like cargo query. And then we're going to say tables equals items and item locations. And we're going to say join on equals items dot name equals item locations dot item name. And then remember, the join like magically puts this data from one table over by the data from another table. And so over here, we're going to be putting the locations, right? The string doesn't exist in items, but it does exist in item locations. We're going to sort of like put this, oh, I did A instead of F. We're going to sort of put this over here, and then we're going to be able to query all of the information from the items table along with the location coming from the item locations table. So we can say like fields equals items dot name, items dot, I'm just making up things right now, weight, items dot cost, items dot element, and then item locations dot location, and that's how the query is going to work. So that's pretty much how you would do it. How expensive is cargo query? Cargo query is pretty much the single most expensive thing that you can do on a page other than to make a network call via JavaScript. Okay, so I've actually been semi-planning on writing a blog post about this, but so here's the speed things that you need to know. Okay, quick is calling a template. Well, it's called transcluding. I don't like using the word transcluding because I feel like that makes it sound really complicated, and it's not that complicated. So I like saying calling, but the proper name is transcluding. So very like extremely quick is transcoding a variable or transcoding a template, retrieving a variable from var define, using if, etc. Still pretty quick is beginning a Lua module invoke. Also pretty quick, but slightly slower, is using Lua cache. Okay, and then there's like a very big difference, and then slow is using an expensive parser function such as if exist. And then likely slower, but about the same order of magnitude, is doing cargo query. The reason that cargo query is likely to be a bit slower than if exist is that cargo queries tend to be a little bit complicated, and so both of these require database queries. It's just that if exist is querying into a built-in MediaWiki table, and cargo query is querying a cargo table. If your cargo data is like very, very small and you are setting everything up properly, and it's a very simple query that like doesn't have a bunch of joins, then I would say the cargo query is likely faster than the if exist. But generally, I'm going to say that cargo data is probably not architected quite as well as like MediaWiki's internal tables. Like you're gonna have a much more complicated query for the most part than grabbing one record from the pages table. So these are about the same, but I'm going to say cargo query is likely going to be slower than if exist. I haven't actually measured any performance benchmarks on this, so I'm sort of totally making this up, but that's my guess, is that cargo query is going to be a little bit slower than if exist. And then like very, very, very slow doing an API call from JavaScript. And the reason that this last one is so very slow is that at this point you're getting into you're getting into speed of light limitations with how much your ping is to the server. Like if you've played any real-time video games and you know that ping is like a huge deal, and your ping will like if you have like 200 ping in a video game, that's just like very slow. So given that you have to round trip to the CDN in order to do an API call, that's going to be slower than a database query. So basically the things you have to know are like this kind of doesn't matter. Like everything that's not a database query or a network call is very fast. Database queries are slow, and network calls are like insanely slow. So that is what you need to know. So you're working in seconds rather than milliseconds when using a database query. No, you're still working in milliseconds. Like even a network call is still usually going to be working in milliseconds. Like you have to, I mean, it's going to be hundreds of milliseconds, but it's still like not going to be over a second, hopefully, unless like you have to do some really expensive computation on the server, or if the servers are like being very slow for some reason, or if you're I don't know, if you're retrieving a lot of data and you get throttled or something. Like network calls can vary a lot. It's not guaranteed to actually resolve because like the network can just be super congested. Something could be down, etc. So I'm not gonna say that like network calls are always milliseconds. Like sometimes it will be seconds just for various reasons depending on what's going on right now. But no, we're still talking milliseconds, but we're talking a lot of milliseconds. Um, So, and it also depends on the query. Like you can definitely like you can execute queries in large databases that will take hours to run. Like that is possible. Cargo data is hopefully you don't have that much. Hopefully you don't have gigabytes of data in your cargo tables, and hopefully it's not going to be that long. Um, database queries can vary a lot depending on what you're asking the database to do and how many records are in the table and whether the column is indexed or not. So we now have our nice item location table, but you would like a user to be able to see how many copies of each item there are in a given area. Okay, yeah, so let's, I'm gonna do this on Neutronized real quick so that I can actually like execute something. So I'm gonna just go to user angled river / test count. And we'll leave this page. I hope I didn't mean to save that. Okay, so we're going to look at the dialog, and what I'm going to query is the number of dialog elements there are for each level, okay? So we're going to do cargo query, table equals dialog. And we're going to close this out, and then we're going to say, by the way, if you've been watching this, like you probably noticed that I close out my parser functions before I type whatever's in the middle of them. That is a very, very good habit to be in the habit. That's a good habit to have. You should always like close your braces and then write stuff in the middle of them, and it will save you like a lot of pain later on when you could like accidentally not close your braces and then see something that is not valid wiki text. Well, I mean, it's valid wiki text, but it's like not going to get parsed the way we want it to. So we're gonna say, what do we want to say? We want to say field. We want to group by is level, and then we want to say, fields equals level and count star equals. So you do it. So we have a count for each of the levels. So we grouped by level, and then count star is just saying the number of different elements there are in the level. So we can also say like we can add count distinct state equals num states. So we can also see like if you put like this distinct here, we're counting the number of different states that there are in each level. So over here we have count star is the count, so there's 7 total rows in level 1-1, but it's only one distinct state. And if we look at like 1-f, then there's 8 different lines in the dialog table in 1-f, and there's 3 different states in them. So let me go ahead and put that here in the events channel so you can see it. So yeah, so counting, you do group by, and then you do like count star and count distinct of a field to get the number of different things showing up, or like, yeah, the number of different values for that column within the thing that you grouped by. So I mean, we can also like, we can put game. This will be kind of boring because there's only one game, right? So there's 11 different states, and there's 79 rows that are associated to Super Cattail's paws, and so 79 for the game, and then there's 11 different states here if we do this different group by. So, and we could also like, it might be interesting to put name here. So this is kind of like non-deterministic. Like you might get a wrong value for the level here. It's slightly illegal to put a field that's not like name can have many different values per, or sorry, level can have many different values per name. So it's slightly illegal to put like level here. And depending on the database restrictions, this query might you might get an error for doing this, because like when Mara, let's add a name here so I can talk about it. So when Fox has Fox has just one level associated to it. Oh, the level might actually be each character might show up. Oh yeah, okay. So Mick Meow shows up in 1-v and 2-3, right? So Mick Meow, there's multiple values for level here. So is it going to show 1-v for Mick Meow, or is it going to show 2-3 for Mick Meow? and that's not answerable. Like, we don't know. Either one is a valid thing to put here, and SQL doesn't like to be non-deterministic in that way. So this is slightly illegal, and depending on the database settings of the wiki, this could throw an error. So you generally don't want to do that. So like it would be fine to the error will say something about like not allowing a non-aggregated data point inside of an aggregated query or something. The keyword to look for is aggregated in the database error it spits out. So we could put like max of line here, and then like the max is showing the maximum value within that. So this is well defined because you're taking all the line data, then you're applying some function to it, and you're putting some output here. Another thing that we could do is we could say, I think this should work, is that we could say like group concat level here. That should work. So if we put like please list every single level, then that's an allowed aggregate value that it can put here. So group by, there's like some pitfalls that you can run into with group by, but yeah, just see if you're on a tuner. The real concern is that right now the database isn't like being forced to be that strict, and if WikiGG change their settings in the future, then it could end up being stricter about it, and so you might have code that like works fine right now, and then in the future it's like a little bit sad. So that's just, be careful about using aggregated data when you're using group by like this. That's like the only thing. So how to apply that to your issue is, so it's possible that I'm like misunderstanding what your issue is, but I'm pretty sure what you want to be able to do is see how many copies there are at each area. So in your case, so this is going to be invalid code on the Neutronized Wiki because these tables don't exist here, but say we have like items, we have item locations. Okay, so then what I would say is group by equals item locations dot location. Okay. Wait. What? How many copies of each item? Oh wait. Oh, you want, so it's not how many distinct items there are at a given area. It's how many copies of the item there are at the area. But we could say like count distinct item locations dot name equals count, and then we can also ask for the location here. So we could do something like this. So say you have 20 magazines in the office and 13 in labs. Okay, so the question is like, the question I would ask is like, is each magazine, is it like you have like 5 different magazines? So you have like Potions Daily, the Dragon Defender, How to Go on a Quest. Are those like 3 different magazines, and each magazine is its own like different item, and you want to query how many different items there are? Or is it that magazine is an item? Okay, so magazine is a generic item, so you would want to just like store the number 20 associated to magazine and office. So then I would edit this to say like count equals count. And then you have to get this data from somewhere. So you probably want to like manually or with some script, you want to add the number of items that are at that location. So you store count in this item locations table along with the item and location data, and then you can request count. I'm sorry for misunderstanding your question. So everything I was talking about is like how to compute the number of different items there are at each location. And you could also, so if you want to like, if there's like 20 magazines and 30 newspapers, and those are both in the office, so you have like 50 items total in the office. If you want to receive 50, then we could be like some item locations dot count equals total number of items. So you can use the sum parser function like that. You're also thinking about including a template for sources that users can use to automatically add the occurrence they're adding. A template for sources that users can use. So okay, I don't understand. I'm sorry. Sources is a section on each item's page. So you want to make sources store some cargo that you can then query along with the item locations data. Oh, is each source a location that the item is found in? So is sources a list of locations? Oh, okay. So if you already have the data on the item page, then like this this cargo store could happen like so I might not call it sources because I think that's a little confusing because source sounds a lot like reference, and so it sounds like you're citing some data in a sources table. So I might not want to call it table sources, but say we want to call the table item locations, you can put this cargo store inside of the sources template. Um, and then you can store all of the item locations data from the sources template instead of storing it from a data namespace page. So like this cargo store can go inside of sources. And if sources is a comma separated list, then you should look into a remap and a remap template. So so probably a remap template is the one that you would want to use. Let me zoom in so it's like readable. So a remap template is probably the one that you would want to use here. So a remap template, I mentioned this in briefly in passing at the start of the stream, is it's a parser function that comes, originally from page forms, and we've ported it to parser power. So a remap template is available on every single WikiGG wiki. And you can, so if sources is given like a comma separated list of locations, then you can split on comma. So you would have like one here because like if it's like okay. Let me put this over here. I always have to look up the name. So if you call it like sources, and then we put like fireplace, chair, table. Okay, these are terrible video game locations, but say that these are locations, and we want to store something for each of these. And then let's say so. First we have like info box item, and we're like item equals lily pad. So we're putting lily pads in the fireplace, chair, or table. Okay. So these are the places that lily pad can be found. Okay. So this is like on the item page. We have this stuff. Okay. And then so at template info box item, then we're gonna want to like write var define item item. Okay, so we're putting this into a variable because right now sources doesn't know what item it's talking about, right? So we have to make sure that sources knows about lilypad. So how do we make sources know about lilypad? We use this var define in template info box item, and then we'll be able to retrieve it later in sources. Okay, so then at template sources, then we're gonna write array map template 1, because this is the first unnamed parameter. Like it's the first ordered parameter, so this is available via 1. And we might want to, yeah. Okay, so we'll put 1 here. Then the template that we're gonna use is like item location / cargo store, and then we're going to want to split on comma, and then we don't want there to be any new delimiter, okay? So we don't actually want to output anything, so there's no delimiter as the last argument. So I'm just like going from the docs over here, okay? So the value is 1, the template is item location / cargo store, the delimiter is comma, and then the new delimiter is this empty value at the very end, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and screenshot this, and then you can go over here, okay, and see that. So 1 is this entire string. So 1 is fireplace, comma, chair, comma, table, right? Because we want another parameter, like another parameter here, okay? So pipe is the parameter delimiter, and comma is just this thing that we're putting here. And so then we're going to split on comma, and then we're going to put each one, we're going to send each one to cargo store over here. So then at template item location / cargo store, that we can put cargo store, and then we're going to want to store the item is going to be var item. And remember, this var item, we defined it in template info box item over here, and the info box item is happening first, and then the sources template is happening second. So we'll have this variable, right? This var item gets defined before the cargo store. Let me screenshot this and paste it in chat also. This documentation is at extension page forms, yeah. But again, the documentation is at extension page forms, but these parser functions have now been ported to extension parser power. And so you can grab array map and array map template from parser power. You do not need page forms for this anymore, as long as you're in WikiGG. Or you can install parser power instead of installing page forms. Page forms is a great extension, but it's very, there's a lot to it. You're adding a lot of stuff to your wiki, and if the only things that you want are array map and array map template, don't go with parser functions. Don't go with page forms. Go with parser power. Okay, so we have the item, which we got from before, and then the other thing we're going to need to add is the location, and this is going to be available as 1. Okay, that's what happens when you split on. So the thing that's going to happen is we have 1. So as we're expanding this, we're going to put fireplace, chair, table here. So we're going to split fireplace, chair, table on comma, and then we're going to send each one to item location / cargo store, and then we're going to reconcatenate the results with the empty string, okay? So what we're going to end up getting is we're going to get item location / cargo store with fireplace. This is, and let me just, to be like clear about it, I'm going to put this here. Okay, so this happens first, and then we're going to have this is going to be done with chair, and this is going to be done with table. Okay, and then this is the one here, right? So that gets expanded as 1, that gets expanded as 1, that gets expanded as 1, and the var define item comes from here. I'll go ahead and screenshot this. There is documentation on parser power. It's not fantastic documentation on parser power, but it is there. Let me just show this on stream. I don't know if this is gonna go in the YouTube video, but yeah. So there's on MediaWiki parser power. The Git repository URL. I forked this and I added array map and array map template to it. So if you're using this version from my GitHub, that's the version that you want to install, and it has array map and array map template. Otherwise, it's just exactly the same as the existing parser power. So yeah, so we'll end up storing for fireplace, chair, and table. We'll get the 3 rows that we want for cargo, and then this can all be done in the sources table by using array map like this. So this is assuming that this is how the template data is stored. You never use events. Will all this info remain accessible later? You might have to join an empty stage channel in order to see it, but all of these links and screenshots should stay in the events channel. Like, if you scroll up pretty far in the events channel, you should be able to see messages from like last stream. Yeah, so like if there's like notes from the wiki task automation class event that happened like 2 weeks ago. If you scroll up enough, so you will be able to see this. You might not want to join the stage channel later to see this information because the music it plays in the background is kind of obnoxious. So I would recommend copying everything that you want to, like, if you want, you could DM it to Wikibot. Like, Wikibot is just a bot, and you can DM it if you want. You can keep that as like your scratchpad for notes from this event if you want, or like your scratchpad as notes about wikis or whatever. I actually highly recommend creating a server that you're the only user in. Like, don't even invite any bots, nothing. It's literally just you. And I highly recommend having a Discord channel that's like just for you and you just paste useful stuff into it. I have one. It has like 20 channels or something ridiculous, and I use like 2 of the channels total. And I track so many things in it, and I just like I if I have appointments coming up and stuff, like my Discord server with just myself is my calendar. um, and I like paste stuff there. If there's something I want to save, it goes there. I have like a bunch of regular expressions that I use for various tasks that I don't want to lose. I have like a channel for important regular expressions I need to save. It's pretty useful. It's not like the ideal note taking solution, but really the ideal note taking solution is the one that you'll use. And because I'm in Discord constantly, it's very easy for me to just go into my Discord server and paste something. I cannot recommend that enough because the alternative to having an easy note taking solution is never taking any notes. So go with an easy solution and put all your stuff into a Discord server with yourself. And don't invite any bots to it though, because like there's always a risk of a bot getting hacked or getting sold and them scraping data and stuff. And if they have the messages intent, then they can see all of the stuff that you wrote. So if you do invite bots, you should restrict them to just one channel and not give them permissions to see all of your notes, in case you have like a bunch of private information in your notes Discord server. I mean, some people would argue like you shouldn't have that in a Discord server anyway because Discord can like use your data for training AI. And I mean that's probably true, but like any cloud solution so that you can access your nodes on both mobile and desktop is going to be using your data as AI training. So, you know, whatever. Might as well be Discord if that's convenient for you. But yeah, super useful to have your own place for note taking like that. Yeah, so I'm assuming that you have like comma separated data in a single template like this. It's also possible that you have something like this. If you do, okay, so for args sucks a lot, but for num args is pretty fine to use. So if your data looks like this, then you can do something pretty similar using for num args. You will have to request loops. We don't enable it by default. When you request it, you should explain why you want it, because loops is not a great extension. And if you say you want loops, then we'll probably say, well, why do you want loops? Because that's not a great extension. And then you can be like, oh, I really want to use for num args so that I can store cargo and reverse that I should use in this use case. If you write that, then we'll give you loops. So ideally, you would use Lua instead, or you would transform your data to something like this, where it's easier to use a remap instead of doing it like this, where you have to use this kind of shitty loop syntax. But I mean, it's pretty okay. Like for num args, I think is the single most reasonable thing that loops gives you. So if you are doing something, then I think loops is loops with for num args. Like loops with for num args is honestly fine. Like if you're using for num args, that's pretty okay. I would not recommend any other function in loops. Like everything else should be done in Lua instead, or you should be modifying your input so that it works with array map or something. But for num args is pretty reasonable, I think. So if this is how your data looks, then go ahead and use loops for numargs. I think that's okay. I'm not going to demonstrate how to do that on stream because I've honestly never used this before and I'd probably mess it up, and I don't want to do that because that would be embarrassing and also not useful to you. It wouldn't actually be embarrassing. I would not be embarrassed by that. But it would not be useful if I showed you incorrect things. So I don't want to show you incorrect things. But I do recommend using that, and you should be able to figure out from the documentation. I've just never used it before, and if I'm using it for the first time ever, reading the docs is I'm gonna mess up reading the docs, so that's not cool. If you're doing like a bunch of automation, like if you have a Python script that's updating your wiki, this is a little bit easier to work with because MW parser from hell can parse out these individual arguments, and you can like more easily change it. Like if you wanted to reverse the order of chair and table, it would be a little bit easier to do it if you have this set up, because you would have to do a little bit of parsing yourself. You would have to say like, oh my god, split this string on comma, and with MW parser from hell, you can like iterate through parameters and do stuff based on the parameters. And splitting on comma slightly irritates me when I'm parsing wikitext. I would rather have individual parameters. But if you're not using Lua, then it's ironically easier to work with comma separated data because you can shove it into array map than it is to work with individual parameters. If you're working with Lua, then this is actually easier to work with, I think. But if you're working with wikitext, then this is going to be a little bit easier because array map is just so fantastic. You had a question about whether/how you can upload a CSV file as input for cargo. Okay, so that's actually more of a Python question than a cargo question. So CSV data tends to work pretty well in relational databases because a CSV is kind of like a visualization of a relational database table. Like if you, where do I have a table open? Do I have a table open? Okay, let's refresh this. So if you have a CSV, like it'll probably look like game, comma, level, comma, line, right? You'll have like you'll have three columns of data and a bunch of rows, and it'll just be comma separated because it's in a CSV, and you can like do a bunch of data processing and have each column in your CSV be one column in your SQL data, and then you can store everything is super fantastic. So in terms of designing the database, very, very straightforward. You make one column in the database per column in your CSV. Possibly it's going to be a little more complicated than this. For example, if your first column is like item name and your second column is item location and your third column is capital city of the item location. So if the first item is located in France and the second item is located in Germany, and then your like capital city is Paris, and then capital city is Berlin, and you have like 30 different items in France and 20 different items in Germany, and you have this capital city data duplicated a bunch of times, then you probably aren't going to want to exactly one-to-one recreate your CSV in your relational database, because then you would want to have like a table of item locations where you're like item location name and then it's capital, instead of like duplicating Paris and Berlin a bunch of times when you have France and Germany like a bunch of times in that data, right? So you might want to normalize your data a little bit when you are translating it to SQL, but it's not a requirement to normalize your data, and a lot of wiki editors don't want to do that because it makes everything more complicated. And it does make things more complicated. It also doesn't make things more complicated. It depends on exactly what you're doing. But let's say we don't want to normalize our data, so, or maybe your data doesn't even need normalization in the first place. Maybe everything is like nice and there's the item is the only thing that determines the value of the thing in the column, and you don't need to worry about making a separate table for your item locations or whatever. Okay, so in that case, the data storage translates very well to cargo. Everything is going to be like exactly the way that you see it in the CSV. You have a game column. You make that game. You make that column you have a game column in your CSV. You make a column in your cargo data called game, and then you put it there. So the big question is, how do you transfer your data from the CSV into the wiki? Okay. Excuse me. And that is a question for Python. So the answer is that you will probably write a Python script to do it. So a one-time creation script can look a lot like this. This is going from a JSON to the wiki. I have this nice little, let me make, I don't need two windows. We'll just go ahead and make this full screen. So I have this items.json data here, and you have like the list of ingredients, the weight, the element for each item name. So this script here, and it actually like has comments now. Last time I streamed, it did not have comments, and now it does. So that's pretty cool. Um, this is like the general idea of how you will upload data to the game. You will have some wikitext template that you're going to format stuff into, and then you use like the dot format. So over here, let me zoom in. I'm sorry, you can't see this at all. Okay, so you have like the wikitext string here, and then you'll format stuff into it and then save a bunch of pages. And we're using MW Cleric here. That's like my MW client wrapper. So we're actually using MW client, but MW client has a little bit limited support for some tasks, and so we're gonna go ahead and use MW Cleric. I don't actually know how to say your name. Is it Timmy? Is that your name? I'm not sure how to. I'm sorry. Anyway, thanks for being here. Okay, Timmy. Yeah, thanks for being here, and I will see you next time. And good night. Um, so we'll make a string here. We'll format stuff into it, and then we'll save it. So we have this like page.save, and you'll put a summary because you should always put a summary, and that'll be great. So that's how we'll use this create script here for creating data. And then if you need to update it, we'll do it a little bit differently, because the thing is that when you're creating pages, you can like wholesale write over an empty page with the content that you want on the page. But if you already have content on the page, some of that content is going to be your structured data from the CSV, and you want to replace over it. But then some of the data is also going to be like user created content or like user generated content, UGC, right? UGC is user generated content. So you don't want to overwrite the UGC on your page. And so in order to avoid overwriting UGC on the page, we use this template modifier, which is built on the libraries MW client and MW parser from hell. And MW parser from hell lets you very easily access into these templates. So we say like, this is the name of the template that we want to modify. And then we, this template modifier class comes from MW Cleric. And so you will make this template modifier and you'll define update template. It'll be given the template, which is determined by this selector that we have at the end when we run it. And then you'll update all of the data inside of the template based on the names of the args and stuff. And you can replace every single arg that's supposed to be synced to your CSV. And then you can run this to update your wiki and preserve all of the UGC on the page. This is a public link to the script, yes. So you can just skip the CSV stage and directly generate it in that format. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, so these scripts are example scripts that could theoretically be used to populate my sorcerer example wiki. So if you like look at all pages and then we look at like crystal shard, for example, and then you edit, like look at what editing crystal shard looks like. So this data is what I'm creating in this create script, and then the update script is theoretically used to update a page while preserving the UGC. So this sorcerer update repo is probably like one of the most useful resources that I've made ever. I think like I wish that I'd made it like 5 years ago, because a lot of people are using it as an example for writing their own Python updating scripts. So based on this, I would encourage you to fork this and then edit in your fork, just because then it's like in the network and people can look at other examples by, oh my god, I'm having like such a hard time with it zoomed in so much. But I think, what is it, compare? Or, it's, I don't know, somewhere over here. Yeah, so in the insights tab, you can go to like forks here. Okay. So you can see who's forked this repo, and so I would encourage you to fork it so that people can see your example code, so that there's just like more instances of example code of this. So yeah, fork it into your own GitHub project, and then you won't ever open a PR back to me. Like if you want to add a comment or something, you could open a PR back to me. Like it's not that I'm refusing to accept PRs, but this is supposed to be like an example for Sorcerer, and you would change it to be an example for your own game. Or like your own wiki. So I would suggest to fork it and just keep it permanently as a fork. If you really need like tickets or something, then you could unfork and you could just like clone this and then set upstream to be your new repo, which isn't a fork. But as long as you're cool with like not having issues here, and it would be nice to keep it in the network so that people can look at like the insights tab to see other repos that are using this and see other examples. Like if we, oh my god, holy shit. Okay, I just pressed Control-0 in the wrong window and it like way zoomed my Discord in, and that is not what I want. Oh my god, I want insights. Okay, so if we, that's not what I want. I want this. So if we look here, like you can, there's like a bunch of different scripts here. So you can see that like this is a much simpler example than the one that I wrote. So you can see like some other examples of changes that people have made. So yeah, do your stuff in a fork too, and then it's like a nice set of useful examples. So and if you have any questions about this, I would say ask me in the automation channel in the server. This would fall under, like we don't have a channel for Python specifically, but this falls under the umbrella of automation. So I've been talking for like almost 3 hours now. So if you don't have any questions, then I will say a little outro. I'm pretty sure the YouTube video is going to end like ages ago, but just in case, I'll say an outro and then end the stream. But I'll wait to see if you have other questions first. So if not, say something in chat that you are good. And if you do have questions, then I can hang around for a little bit longer and answer anything. Okay, all right. Thanks for showing up. My next event is probably going to be early June, early to mid June at some point. I'm gonna give my voice some time to heal because I've been talking for ages, and I know that like we have like server events and then we have like cargo events, and all of my cargo events are like relatively impromptu and unofficial and not like scheduled a week in advance and quite fancy. So probably like the next official server event has priority over this. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that event or someone else is going to be doing that event. It depends on what the topic is. We were talking about doing a regular expression event. If we do regular expressions, it'll probably be me. If it's like there's also talk of doing like another event about like administrating your wiki and like keeping track of like wanted categories and stuff. And if it's that, then it'll probably be Jared. But we'll see. So that one takes precedent, and I probably can only do like one event every 2 weeks because it's really a lot of talking. The more I do, the more used to talking I'll get, or like the more newly used to talking I'll get. So I'll be able to do it more frequently. But it's also it's kind of a lot to do these events, so we'll see. But yeah, I definitely want to do one about list type fields. I'm actually writing a blog post right now that should go out sooner than that. That it'll touch a little bit on the topic of list type fields, but it won't like go super in depth. And list type fields is something I think is like best addressed in an event rather than a blog post. It's just so much easier to talk about something than to write about something. And like if I take like 20 minutes to talk about something, then you can just watch for 20 minutes. But if I were to write about it, then I have to like write it all in like 200 words, and turning 20 minutes of rambling into 200 words is very difficult. So we'll see. But yeah, so next event is probably going to be like a server event, which will be voted on most likely. And then after that, I want to do something about list type fields sometime in June. So thank you for showing up. If you are watching this on YouTube, which again, I think we will have cut the video by now, but in case The whole thing is on YouTube. Thanks for watching, to people in the future, and I'll see you next time.